the night! Out of the night comes the whispering voice of the night wind to tell another story of man's battle with fate. A true story today of a man's absolute devotion to art. A devotion that transcended all considerations of personal welfare, that wrote a shining page in the grim, dark history of the Nazi occupation of France.
All I know is that I have more chance of doing what I must if I stay here a prisoner than if I yield to cowardice and escape from the country.
This is one of those stories that can best be told by a person concerned. So listen now to the voice of a man who saw it happen. He is Leon Feuchtwanger, the famous German writer who occupied a high place on the Nazi liquidation list.
Mr. Wolstein was an art dealer. I met him in Paris in the late 1930s. He could talk of nothing else but a young Pole he had recently discovered by the name Michael Kalinski.
Yes, Mr. Feuchtwanger, I believe Michael is a genius. I believe in 50 years' time he will be as famous as Matisse or Braque or Picasso.
Really? You rate him very high.
And not without cause. I have one or two of his pictures here. Would you like to see them?
Very much indeed.
Good, good. This way. They're hanging in the next room.
Thank you.
Here we are. There. Well, what do you think?
I'm not an art critic, of course, but the young man certainly seems to have something. A little derivative, perhaps, but...
Oh, of course you must realize Michael hasn't matured yet. He still leans heavily on the early Picasso, as he himself will be the first to admit. But wait and see. He's going to get to the top. Mark my words.
With such enthusiastic support as yours, I have no doubt he will.
I am less than nothing, my dear Herr Feuchtwanger. Michael's is the genius. I am merely the instrument which will introduce him to the world.
But Michael Kalinski's paintings were never introduced to the world. For the shadow of the crooked cross was hanging low over Europe. And a few months later, all hell and damnation broke loose. The next time I met Mr. Wolstein was at Les Milles, near Aix. We had both been caught up in the Nazi occupation of France, and we were fellow prisoners in a concentration camp.
Herr Feuchtwanger, it can't possibly be you. It can't be.
Unfortunately, it is, my friend.
I had hoped you might get away. The Nazis don't like you very much. You're not safe here.
I fancy none of us are here, really. So long as I can keep my real identity a secret, I have no doubt I will be as well off as the next. Here my name is Schmidt.
You can rely on me implicitly.
Thank you. Tell me, Mr. Wolstein, I have often wondered, what happened to that young man whose work you were so keen about? Michael, what was his name?
Michael Kalinski. When war began, he joined the Polish Legion.
Is he still alive?
When last I heard from him 3 months ago, he was. It would be a great loss to the world if he should die. A very great loss indeed.
And his pictures? The ones you were going to exhibit? I suppose the Nazis have got them by now.
No, I've got them here with all my other pictures.
Here in this camp? But I don't see how.
Not the pictures themselves, but these.
Like a check?
Yes. When I realized invasion was inevitable, I took my most valuable paintings out of their frames and hid them in various trunks between the lining and the trunk wall. They're flat, you see, and took up little space.
And then what did you do?
I dispatched the trunks to different railway stations, mainly in the south of France.
From that pile of checks, you seem to have a lot of them.
Yes, 18. Between them, they contain no less than 29 paintings. Among them, a Matisse, a Picasso, 2 small Degas, a Tiepolo, a Franz Hals, and the 3 of Michael's.
Why, the few you have mentioned alone must be worth a fortune. You have taken a great risk with them, haven't you?
What else could I do? For the time being, at least, they shall be safe enough from the Nazis.
Safe? Yes, perhaps. But how are they ever to be reclaimed? Who's going to do it? Have you any relatives or friends in France who are allowed the sufficient freedom to collect them for you?
No, I've no one. All I can do is wait and hope.
was not long after this that an American friend arranged for my escape. It was a simple enough plan, but it sounds melodramatic when I tell you now. It was made easier by the fact that our concentration camp was on the seashore, and that at stipulated times we prisoners were permitted to bathe.
Here's the setup, Mr. Feuchtwanger. When you go swimming, swim over near the quay. There'll be an American Red Cross ambulance parked there. When the guard isn't looking, you'll be thrown some women's clothing. You'll have to change into it somehow in the water. Then the driver will fish you out. And if any questions are asked, he'll say you're an American woman passenger, that you tripped on the quay and fell into the water. Once you're away from the town, there should be no trouble smuggling you over the Spanish border. Do you think you can do it?
It isn't a question of whether I can do it. It resorts itself that I must do it. Any day now they will discover who I am, and then Sie wissen, was die Gestapo mit mir machen wird. Finished, kaputt.
Right. The ambulance will be there waiting for you tomorrow.
Would it be possible for me to bring a friend?
Well, that doubles the chance of detection. I advise strongly against it.
I'm prepared to take my chance.
It's your own business, I suppose. Sure does seem like asking for trouble. But if you think it can be worked, you're at liberty to try it.
That evening I found Mr. Waldstein and put the proposition to him. But his reaction was by no means what I had expected.
I'm very grateful to you, my friend, particularly as you have jeopardized your own escape for me. But it's impossible. I can't go.
You can't go? But why? It's risky, I admit. But think what it means if you succeed. Freedom. Escape to America.
It is not the danger that stops me. It's these trunk checks. You understand?
No, I don't understand. It is not possible for a man that he should be so attached to his possessions that he would endanger his life for them.
I see you do not comprehend. It isn't because of the Matisse or the Hals or the Tiepolo. It's because of Michael's pictures. Matisse doesn't need me. He's known, he's famous. But only you and I know about Michael. He is the important one. It is work that must be rescued and presented to the world.
But you don't even know if he is still alive.
If he is dead, then it becomes doubly imperative to keep his work alive.
But even so, how are you going to get the pictures? How can you possibly reclaim all those trunks when you are cooped up here in prison?
I don't know. All I know is that I have more chance of doing what I must if I stay here, a prisoner, than if I yield to cowardice and escape from the country.
Yield to cowardice?
That's what I would be doing if I deserted Michael's pictures.
After that, I gave up. Next morning, I made my escape. Everything went according to plan, and after an adventurous journey, I arrived safely in Lisbon and at last among my friends in America. But somehow I couldn't get Mr. Waldstein out of my mind. America wasn't the war yet, and I still hoped against hope that enough strings might be pulled to free him. More than a year passed. It was November 1941, just a couple of weeks before Pearl Harbor, when a caller was shown into my study. He was thin and emaciated, and his clothes were in rags, and he bore the evidence of cruel beating. I stood looking at him mutely for a minute or more.
You do not recognize me, Herr Feuchtwanger?
Mr. Waldstein, is it really you?
All that the Nazis have left of me?
But you are free. You have got away from them. That is the important thing.
No. The important thing is that I was able to reclaim 3 of my trunks.
You were?
And in one of them was a painting by Michael.
And what about Michael? Have you heard of him?
Michael is alive, too. Alive, but with one arm missing.
Not his right arm?
Yes.
Aber, mein Gott,
It's bad, of course. But he'll learn to paint with his left arm. He'd learn to paint with his toes or his teeth if necessary.
You are very confident of him.
Why not? Michael is a genius. And one day the world will know it.
My story ends there. Now I have told it. It doesn't seem very exciting and heroic. And if you could see Mr. Wolstein, you would not say he looked very heroic either. He's a little man. Clumsy and a trifle uncouth, perhaps. A stubborn, stupid little man, you might even say.
And what of Michael Kalensky? Quite a few years have passed since then, but I don't recall having heard his name in the world of art.
It may well be that Michael will never amount to anything, that the genius Mr. Wolstein thought he detected in his work never existed and never will exist. But as I see it, that is not the point.
What is the point, Mr. Feuchtwanger?
The point, my friend, is that whether Wolstein was right or whether he was wrong, he is one of the few men I ever met who willingly endured the horrors of the damned for the thing in which he believed. And that, to my mind, makes him a great man.
Out of the night comes the whispering voice of the night wind with stories